Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Market. I'm your host, Nathan Hale, and I am here with my co-host, Trent Richardson. Trent, what are we talking about today?
Man, so we're back at it again. We've got some more episodes to kind of go back and reminisce about. I gotta say, that last episode, it's fun going back and looking at what we've talked about in the past and where we're at today with everything. So I'm pretty stoked to see what we got in store today for these other episodes that we didn't talk about in the last episode.
So for those of you who may have done the blasphemous thing of not actually watching the last episode, this is part 2 of the updates or scorecard of how we did in the last 6-7 weeks of speccing. So spoiler alert if you didn't watch it, we fared actually a little better than we thought we would. So that was interesting, but we'll see where we end up today, huh?
Yeah. So I think, honestly, we're going to end up, in the last episode, I said I thought we were probably about 50-50. We might be a little better than 50-50. We might be at about 55%, man. So,
oh, yeah? Well, okay, for those of you watching, what we're going to do, or try to remember to do, is say the card before we tell you how it did, and you comment below if you think it went up or down. Okay, it won't really work because we're not live, but it still would be fun. Maybe eventually we'll do one of these live, and you guys can, jump in and chime in with your idea of whether it went up or down. Of course, you're probably right there looking it up on Goldfish or Stocks or something.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to start us off here?
Yeah. So we'll start off back on July 22nd is when we aired our fourth.
Or I think we recorded it maybe.
Or when we recorded our, I guess it was the fourth episode. And on that episode, we didn't have a whole lot of specs going on. I mean, we did talk a lot about, I think at some point we talked about buying sealed product.
Well, on this one, I think we talked about reserve list was the new kind of, this is where we first introduced reserve list.
That's right.
At the request of you, the viewer.
Yeah, that's right. That is absolutely right. So yeah, we spent a lot of the episode talking about the reserve list and the viability of speccing on reserve list cards. Mm-hmm. So we do have one reserve list card from this episode that we specced on, and spoiler, we'll get there, but man, choice. Yeah. So
I know at least one of our viewers picked it up on that card too. They let me know. So kudos to them for grabbing it while it was lower.
Yeah, for sure. So the first card we'll talk about here, we'll start off with Tatiova Benthic Druid. Now, you and I believe she's the 39th most popular commander.
32nd.
32nd.
She's very popular with landfall strategies.
And a great card in any land-heavy deck, lands matter deck. So it's no surprise that an uncommon from Dominaria that's been reprinted still holding his price or her price at $1.39. So we haven't seen any up or down swing in the card since the airing of the episode. However, I will mention it did get up to $1.66 this month, probably a week ago. But it has since come back down to that $1.39. So it's trying to move up, but still spec worthy.
I'm wondering if we're going to see if I have a feeling that if landfall is a thing in our Zendikar Rising, we could see this card jump up again. We could see a spike in Tatiova. So if you need them for decks, you may not want to necessarily go crazy on investing in this card, but you might want to pick up a few right now because I don't think it's going to really go down from where it's at, barring yet another reprint.
Right.
Now, these next ones here I want to talk about, I'm going to kind of lump them all together. And those were the talismans from Modern Horizons, particularly 3 in particular, and that was creativity, hierarchy, and conviction. And we'll start with a talisman of creativity. What do you guys think? What do you think, Trent? Good, bad? Just
it's
sitting
a
where it
new
was?
card. There's no way it could have went up.
Well, they're doing quite nice. Starting with Talisman Creativity, which I think was the one we were most hot to trot for because of the color combination red-blue, if I recall.
That's
was
right.
a market price of $1.40 and is now up to $2.02. That is up 62 cents in 3 weeks, roughly.
Yeah, about.
Yeah. Moving up fast. Talisman of Hierarchy had the smallest jump. Went from $1.01 to $1.15, but still up 14 cents. Talisman of Conviction, which was at $1, has moved up to $1.36. I'm sure you can do the math on that one. It's yeah, the talismans, they are always a solid investment if WotC doesn't reprint them copiously. Now, I will say it would not surprise me to see talismans of one form or another printed in Commander Legends because they, like signets, they're very key to Commander. I mean, they're among the absolute best two cost rocks in Commander. So they may get reprint there, but I wouldn't be too concerned even if they do. I don't think it's going to crush the values on these. It will maybe bring them down 25%, but I wouldn't expect them to stay down long.
Right. No, I agree. The talisman, ever since their inception back in Mirrodin, have been just fantastic mana rocks. Whether even before EDH was a thing. I mean, I know we used to play them just in a game we used to call Community. It's where everybody would take a deck.
Yeah,
and just
everyone's same deck.
Shove like 5 decks together into one big deck, and everybody played off the same deck.
Yeah.
And we were using Talisman in those because we were building decks for the Community deck. Some people obviously just threw in trash on purpose, but some of us built a deck that would potentially help others. So even back then they were great, and then they got introduced into the cubes, and then they got their popularity there for a while. And then ever since EDH was incepted, I mean, they've just been necessary to play the game. I mean, you have a real bad time if you don't have any talisman.
Yeah.
So yeah, good specs on those for sure. So our last spec of this episode, which was our very first calling in the reserves, Hall of Gemstone. So
such a good
this
card.
salt-inducing lovely bones of a card. 11.55 when we aired, 15.83 today. So I'd say that's a hit.
Oh
up
yeah,
$4.28. Now we did talk about in our last episode the rise of the new 2017-2018 reserve list buyouts 2.0. That's happening right now. So, and this card has not been lost on that. I'm sure it is moving
not been
up
overlooked
because exactly of that reason. So it's only going to go up from here, guys. So if you can get them while they're hot. Otherwise, we're not going to see the $11.55 days of this card anymore. It's just not going to happen.
No. We're on the reserve list. Let's say we stay on it here for another card. We're going to talk about the cards we picked when we recorded July 29th. So this would be 2 weeks ago, I think. Can I do math? No, three weeks.
So this episode has some... This was a rough episode, guys. July 29th. We had some terrible things happen in this episode.
Well, the July 29th, it had some winners in there.
It did have some winners, but we had some, I wouldn't say they were terrible, but we had some misfires as far as...
Well, there was the one. We'll get to that in a minute.
Well, there was two, so and I'll get there too, which isn't on the list we're looking at here off camera, you guys. But
oh, okay. Well, I'm curious now. This is news to me as well.
Yeah.
But before we go into that, I do want to talk about reserve lists and our spec from that week, which was Cadaverous Bloom. which actually from when we spec'd hadn't seen a lot of growth for like 2 weeks. But here recently, it jumped up as I think people are now looking at it and going, okay, here's another good viable reserve list pickup that's playable in EDH. And it, at the time of recording, was $3.14, and now it's up to $4.12, up $1.02. Yeah. So definitely a good pickup that was.
Yeah, for sure. So the other card I was thinking of was Ancestral Knowledge.
Oh, I thought we were gonna save that one for the much later. So this is the.
I think it's appropriate to talk about it now, since this is the date in which we
would have aired it or talked about it, but we
just took a big doo-doo is of what happened.
Yeah, we were like, let's talk about Cadaverous Bloom, and we'll talk about Ancestral Knowledge next week.
Yep. Well, we did talk about Ancestral Knowledge next week, but we weren't too excited about the fact that we had to.
Yeah. So during that week time, the card moved from where it had been at a market price of $3. It jumped to a market price of $17.87, where it is today. At the time of the week following, which would have been a few days to a week, not even before, after it would have aired and you would have seen it, it jumped up at one point to like $38. It didn't hold there long, but it's up $14.87 today from where it was
when we should have spec'd on it for you guys.
And the really sad part, if you missed last episode, you would have heard me bitch about this. I spec'd into it I think I got mine for like $2.70 to $3, like right around in there. And they were lost by the mail. So I never got them. So that's a double hit, and TCG was like, we'll, refund you and you can buy it again. I'm like, that's not going to work now. They're up quite a bit from where they were. So that was kind of rough.
Yeah, that was a rough one. So one of the specs that I had from this episode that was not on the reserve list, Narset's Reversal. Now, I'm still pretty high on this card, and like I mentioned in that episode, I have been ever since it came out. War the Spark, I believe. $5.10 is where it was, and today we're at $4.60. So we're down 50 cents, about a 10% decline in the card's value, but 10% is not too bad. I still think it's specable. I think it still belongs in CEDH even. I mean,
great
I don't
card.
see why not. It's just a good card. But either way, that'll be for another day. We'll have to cry over some spilled milk on Narset's Reversal.
So I got two here. I can't really talk about one without talking about the other, I feel. It's only fair since they're partners, and that is Pure Imaginative Rascal and Toothy Imaginary Friend.
Yep.
So we'll start with Pure. Pure was at $5.65 when we talked about this card, and it is now down to $5.35. That's down 30 cents from where it was. Not a huge amount, but it is interesting to note that that's down. And Toothy, as you could probably guess, is up. Because why? Because reasons we couldn't figure out in the last episode when we talked about this. Toothy keeps going up. And it's like, why just the one? Especially since it's played in less EDH decks than Pure is. So I don't know. Maybe people love the art. It's confusing to me. But regardless,
I still haven't figured it out, and I've been digging and digging and digging and trying to find a reason. I can't find a reason.
I can't either. I mean, they're exactly the same number in print because they were printed and always appeared together in packs. Unless there's some random packs out there I don't know about that didn't come with both partners because of misprint or something. But Yeah, Toothy's up. He was $7.13. He's up to $7.59. He's up 46 cents from where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And Pier's down. So I go figure. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But there it is.
So another snafu we had from this episode was the ding 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 ding, the hot heavy hitter that we were just super excited about finding, overwhelming forces. Now, while we did kind of make a retraction in the following episode that we filmed on August 6th, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes.
we didn't realize there had been a Judge foil reprint that had changed the wording of the card to change the ruling on the card and how the card works, making it not quite as OP as we originally believed it to be.
Yep. Now, having said that, at the time we recorded, it was $39.71 market price. Now, I got mine for $36. I believe you got yours for $38, and a couple of other people got theirs for $38 as well. But in doing so, since there was such a limited quantity available, we actually moved the market.
We did it. We literally moved the market. Where are we at now?
Today, market price is $51.99.
That's up $12.28.
So, thanks to just a few of us, and I believe we only purchased 5 total out of everybody.
I got 2. Jeff bought a Judge one.
Yeah.
You got 1. Will got 1.
2.
I don't know if anybody else. Comment below if you also picked one up after we discussed it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know because last I checked, there was like only 7 copies, maybe 8. And originally it was, I think, during the show it was like 16 or something.
Yeah, it was 16.
So some other people besides us, I'm assuming, us being viewers of the show, we're noticing and picking it up too. I don't know where it currently sits as far as quantities available.
But that's just a small sampling, and I'm glad it happened, even though we, didn't see the Oracle text and all that other snafu that happened with it. I'm still glad that we got to witness and participate together in a experiment, if you will. And the experiment succeeded, guys. We moved the needle. Mm-hmm. We moved the needle $12.28, which is not chump change. That's about a 25% increase.
Yeah.
So thanks for bailing me out, guys.
Well, we got just one left to talk about from the 29th. This is an always great card in EDH. I'll just say it. It's Vandal Blast, the red cousin to Cyclonic Rift. And it was at $4.18. But where is it now? $4.29, up 11 cents. So we have another winner there. And while that's not a huge uptick, it is still continuing the trend I noticed that it has had nonstop for like 6 years, which if you look at it, like seeing something that has that steady of a growth with no stepped tiers where attempted buyouts or anything were happening indicates that it's just pure demand for the card that's driving it. That's driving its price, which is a good thing to see and have in a card. But again, it also means that should it be reprinted, it could collapse the value on it quite substantially. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this card in Commander Legends because it is such a staple there. Mm-hmm. So there's definite chance that we could see a reprint there. Now, there is the possibility that if they upshift the rarity, which is possible, then that would actually help sustain the current value of the uncommon copies.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully if they do reprint it, they do upshift the rarity. For anybody who has spec'd into this card's sake. But of course, if they don't, and they downshift the rarity, then we're really looking for troubling times. for this card. So I would not touch this until at least after we get
Commander Legends. Yeah.
So that's going to be it for that episode. Now let's move on to August 6th, where we talked about double Jeopardy?
Double your pleasure, double your fun. Double mint gum.
Double Masters.
Double Masters, that's right. Double Masters. Twice the Masters.
Yeah. So one of the cards that I was kind of on the fence about, I didn't know how I felt about it. I really wanted it to be a good spec, because I just really like the card. It sits in a nice little place called home for me. But Darksteel Forge. So I know that you didn't have the same sentiments as I did about the card.
I thought this would continue to go down. I figured this would kind of settle in around $8 to $9.
Yeah, we're actually doing pretty well on it. We're up from $11.31 to $12.15, so 84 cents. Not that big of an increase.
But an increase.
But an increase nonetheless. So good to see that that's happening. And then I think there's another one that I was very, very not high on that you were.
Yep. And that would be the Avenger of Zendikar, which I've seen so many decks. I've needed it for so many decks. I've torn open a sealed commander deck just to get a copy of this card because I needed it for a deck. Yes, regrets, the like, whatever. I did it. Moving on. But that card was at $5.86 market price. It is now up to $7.51, up $1.65.
Well, tell them what it was.
What's that?
Well, tell them what it was.
Oh, I thought I did say Avenger of Zendikar. Did I not? Oh, I just went on everything else. So, yeah. Avenger of Zendikar, this is such a staple in EDH. And I continue to... I really think this is going to see even more increase in price if Zendikar Rising, A, doesn't reprint it, and B, has Landfall Matters cards in it, because Avengers Zendikar is going to eat that up.
Yeah, for sure. So a card that we were both very high on, and actually this was our favorite pick coming from Double Masters, Doubling Season.
Well, one of our favorites. We had one other favorite, which we'll get to.
True. This is probably the second favorite.
Yeah.
Most likely. Either way, it's up there. Doubling Season, when we aired, $40.94. Today, $43.56. So we're increased $2.62. We're back on that uptick. It's just too good. It's too good of a card to be kept down. They could print this until the cows come home, and I don't know.
So long as it's at a mythic rarity. I mean, if they made it common, that would obviously crush it. Some.
That would be ridiculous.
They're not going to do that. They're going to piss all over their reprint equity like that.
Yeah. So I mean, a strong reprint for Double Masters. Everybody thought that this card was gonna just bottom out, but I mean, it bottomed before it released.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get on it before it released, I think it was 36, somewhere around there. Those days are gone until it gets reprinted again sometime down the road.
So another one that I was definitely very high on. I'm pretty sure you were as well.
Yeah.
But we did expect it to go a little lower than right after the release, and that's kind of the running theme for most of the cards we're going to talk about. We expected to see things go lower. And this card is Land Tax I'm talking about. It was at $22.59 when we talked about it, and it is up to $32.08, an increase of $9.49.
This is probably our biggest winner out of this entire episode.
Well, no, because overwhelming forces would actually have done more, went up more.
Oh, I mean...
this episode, August 6th, not this episode, right. Yeah, I think so. As far as Double Masters is concerned, definitely. And it's not that surprising. It's such a staple of EDH, And seeing what the copy in Battle Bond did and how that just it dropped down, and we thought we were going to see that again. And I think that's the craziest thing, because it went down under 20 with the Battle Bond printing at one point, and then went back up to nearly 40. So I think we're basing it off of that. Yet for whatever reason, it never hit that low. I would have expected it to gone down at least to that point before rebounding. And you know, with some of these prices, it could be that there has been some difficulty for people getting these boxes. And I don't know if that difficulty is in part due to the lack of printing. It could be just straight money, the capital. We're talking about an expensive product here, which could be another factor in that. So maybe not as much as getting opened as we think there is.
I will say I frequent a lot of card shops. You know, I've talked about it with you in the past. I haven't talked about it on here, but you know, for what I do for a living, I drive around the city a lot. So I've been to pretty much every card shop there is in the greater Houston area. And what I've noticed here lately since Double Masters has come out is that any shops that got any decent allotment and they didn't sell through with pre-orders, they've still got boxes sitting on the shelves. They've still got packs. They're still selling packs individually and not at a high velocity. One, because nobody can come in and play. So they probably think that they can't go, period. You know, there's a whole host of reasons. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. I just ultimately, it's got to be just exhaustion from the sheer amount of product that's come out, coupled with the fact that it's just crazy expensive.
Yeah.
You know. So the next one we'll talk about here, which will be from this episode, our first, we'll call it a miss, but ultimately this is not going to be a miss down the road. Toxic Deluge. When we talked about this card, it's $15.26. Today, down to $14.62. So we're down 64 cents. That's I mean,
not much.
Barely even enough to mention it's a downtrend.
Yeah.
But I think we might see this card go a little bit lower. I thought the bottom on it was ultimately going to be about $12 or $13. So we might still get down to that, but in the long term, this card's going to get back to 20.
Oh, yeah. And that's the interesting thing about a lot of these. We expected a race to bottom. Some of them had that. Others didn't. It's interesting. Primarily, it seems like the Mythics, which is, again, why I go into, I'm wondering if there was just not as much open as we thought. So the Mythics, there's even less of, so it's helping to maintain that value. I mean, so anyway, we'll digest this when we get to the end of it here. So another, speaking of Mythics, Avacyn, Angel of Hope. You guessed it. She was $25.65. We were hoping to see her drop down to around under 20 to start speccing into. She's already up to $29.39, up $3.74. The window has already closed on that opportunity.
It's gone.
Now, I don't know that Avacyn's going to get back anytime soon to that $50 mark she was at just prior to the announcement that she was going to be in Double Masters. But I still don't think we've at all seen the ceiling on this card either. I'm thinking she's easily a $40 card. And if she dodges reprints for a couple of years, she probably will hit that 50 again. But she's going to have to dodge some reprints.
Agreed.
But I do think 40 is in her foreseeable future.
So I'm going to talk about a coupling of cards, if you will. I'm just going to talk about the uncommons from this set. So we all know what the chase uncommons were in Double Masters. We got Expedition Map, Pongify, Lightning Greaves, Path to Exile, and Oubliette. Now, it's interesting to note these cards all together because most of the rares and most of the mythics have seen either slight decreases in value or bigger increases than decreases have seen, while the uncommons have been on a downtrend. So it's interesting to note that all of these cards I've mentioned are down about $1 each. Now, that's with the exception of Path to Exile and Oubliette. Path to Exile is only down 52 cents, and Oubliette is down 36 cents, although it did get to $5.23 from the 474, which we recorded.
Which is interesting. Of all those five, you and I'm sure would agree. The last one we thought would maintain closest to its value at that time was Oubliette. That we figured that to be the longest long shot of them all. So I do find it kind of interesting that it's mostly holding where it's at. Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. Now,
let's go ahead and give them the individual numbers here. But
this is what we would have expected from the entire set by this point. We would have expected to see these, 50% decreases in values, these 30% decreases in values on the rares and mythics, as well as the chase uncommons, but we're only seeing it with the chase uncommons.
Yeah.
And the foil versions of these cards are even worse.
Yeah. I think that's the VIP. I think we talked about, like, if you want to get foils of these uncommons because you want to bling your deck out with them,
it's so easy now.
It's so easy, but I'm not sure, because of the VIP and the amount of foils being injected in the market by those, I almost thought going non-foil with this set would probably be the better play for the uncommons. For maintaining value, which is weird, but I mean, there's just so many foil cards in those VIP packs.
Now, I still agree with that sentiment because honestly, it depends on what you like. We live in Texas; it's humid as hell, and foils curl very, very easily. So for us, maybe it's not the greatest idea to spec into foils, unless you just really like them and want to bling out your deck. Basically, you can get a foil Path to Exile for the same price you can get a regular one. I mean, and now that's been the case for a while, but even so, that's ridiculous. I just wanted to talk about all the uncommons together as a grouping because
now on the plus side, right now is a good time to pick up these uncommons if you want them for decks, and every one of them. Outside of maybe Oubliette, which is a bit more niche than the others, I think, a little more niche, are very playable EDH cards, and buying them just to have them to run in decks is worth it. And if they dodge reprints for a while, these cards will all go up significantly.
I do want to mention, as we said on that episode, if Expedition Map goes sub $1, buy them up. Guess what, guys?
It's there.
Sub $1.
Yep. It is a 92 cents market price right now, so grab those up. I want to talk about one now. Okay.
How many times are you going to mention this card on this channel, Hill?
I'm trying to get it in every episode. I think it's doable, considering we're talking about EDH, and this is probably the second or third most played card in EDH. And you guessed it, Cyclonic Rift. Surprise, surprise, following the trend of the mythics, and I guess that's the only rare, actually, on that saw that. But it was at $20.91 and has gone up to $22.86, up $1.95 from where it was. Which, it's Cyclonic Rift, so I suppose not that surprising. And when you look in the context of how many cards are going up in the rare mythic slot in this set right now, it's not at all surprising.
Yeah. Now, it is surprising, though, that we thought it was going to get down to 18 or 17.
Yeah, but, I mean, we also thought Lantax was going to go under 20.
Yeah. And we were just, we waited too long on the floor, but we never saw it.
And we talked about this, was it last week? I don't remember. That it looks like the race to the bottom is starting to happen. At least with this set, it appeared that the trend was the race to the bottom was the week before the release of the set, which is traditionally when the prices are most inflated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. But we did see a lot of openings more than usual prior to the release. So I think maybe you were onto something, like a lot of shop owners sitting around and got all this product and going, I got nothing better to do. Let me see. I don't have necessarily people coming to the store as much as I used to. So let me get these up online and make my money there. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if that's really, while we're in this pandemic, if the race to the bottom is going to start to, we're going to see it there as opposed to
yeah, probably so. I wouldn't expect to see it with
Zendikar,
with sets like new sets like, you know, Zendikar coming out. I'm not
Commander Legends. I could see it happening on
but with Commander reprint sets and ancillary product,
because there's not as much speculation having to go into it, because there's a history for all of the cards as to how they did. Commander Legends may have some stuff kind of like Jumpstart that are new additions, obviously, but going to be huge for Commander, like Tiny Bones and the like from Jumpstart. And those cards are crazy inflated right now. Yeah. Lack of supply is part of that. We got one left to talk about, and this one was our personal favorite pick. And so you know how that one's going.
So Academy Ruins was at $10.31 today, $8.41, down $1.90. So about a 20% decrease. Again, we thought that was going to happen.
Yeah,
we thought it was going to happen
because of the precursor, Hall of Heliod's Justice, which came out and dropped to $3, and we're like, what is wrong with the world?
Yeah.
So we figured this was going to drop down around the $8 mark.
Yeah, and I think it's time to buy them up.
Yeah.
I don't see it going much lower than $8. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to hold there very long once it does.
No.
So now's the time. All right, so we'll move on to our last episode from last week.
So not a lot of time for changes there, but we noted what the changes were.
Yep. So I guess the first one we'll talk about here is an uncommon Angel of Vitality. This is the two and a white angel that lets you get
3 life matters.
Every time you gain life. Was 49 cents when we talked about this. Well, I guess 2 weeks ago now. Anyway, we're filming this. Whatever, you guys get it, right? 49 cents when we aired this episode. 38 cents today, down 11 cents. Now, it's still a good commander card.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of niche, but still worth picking up even at 38 cents. That's a better discount than you'll get in your local card shop's uncommon bin at 50 cents. So,
yeah,
38 cents, I'll buy it.
So,
what else we got here?
Shall I? Voice of Plenty. And you know how we love those Dominaria rares and how they keep going up. Unfortunately, this one didn't.
Yeah.
It went down a tiny bit, almost not even worth noting. It was at 534. It's down 14 cents to 520. Yeah, and that could easily be up to 550 next week. So a pretty nominal change. It's kind of just bouncing around right now.
Yeah.
Still a great card.
Next one we got here, Bosium Strip, which the week prior to this, I actually picked one up for $1. When we aired the episode, $2.65. Now today, $3.37. So up 72 cents, which isn't bad. Not as good as I would have hoped since we're seeing these buyouts 2.0. So
yeah.
Maybe we'll get there.
But the supply of Bosium Strip is quite a bit higher than Cadaverous Bloom and quite a bit higher than Ancestral Knowledge was. In fact, part of the reason I spec'd into Ancestral Knowledge was I saw the low numbers. There was like 59 listings, and most of them were one-ofs, in the near mint to mint copies. So I was like, okay, this thing's kind of poised here for buyout because it's a card that was under $3 for the most part. So someone could come in, a savvy investor trying to buy it out, and could basically pick up the bulk of the near mint and lightly played copies and command what they want the new price to be, which is essentially what happened. And then when it dropped from that $38, people saw that craziness up 1,100%. Let's inject our copies into the online market, which brought that price down, but it couldn't get it back to that pre-inflated price. It'll take a while for that to happen, and then, like we discussed, it's never going back to that 3. It hit its new step. It's going to dip back down, but it's probably going to settle around the $5-6 mark at the lowest, I should imagine. I don't think it'll go much lower.
I don't think it'll go much lower than that. I'm really honestly looking at a floor about 8.
Yeah, and that's just it. I'm looking now that it's holding. It actually ticked up a little from when I last looked, which means it's settling in currently close to $18. So I imagine I wouldn't be surprised if about 65% to half of that, $7 to $9.
Yeah.
Could be where it ends up.
Mm-hmm.
But another one we talked about, and I follow this up because it was in this particular episode we were talking about being quick to when the market's starting to move, and help you interact at instant speed. We talked about a card called Leyline of Anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can imagine, with something that good, the price went down.
Yeah.
So $6.32. It's down to $5.87. That's down 45 cents. Not a massive amount, but a little bit.
And so our last card from that episode, coupled with Leyline, was another card to get you off and running. Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, $1.74, $1.66 today.
Oh.
Down 8 cents. Again, barely worth mentioning. But again, guys, we talk about it all the time. Specking is long term. This is a long game, guys. This is not a short man's game. Or it is, I don't know. But
looking at the numbers here.
We just aired this episode last week prior to filming this episode.
Yeah, it was literally a week ago to the day.
Yeah. So there hasn't been much opportunity for movement, especially on the August 12th episode. And then there hasn't been much overall. Hasn't been much ability for anything to move, except for buyouts from the reserve list.
Yeah,
and our social experiment with overwhelming forces. So overall, let's count up.
Well, I just counted here. We're at 16 went up, 12 went down, and it looks like we had 2 stayed where they were at. So. Yeah, pretty good. Actually, better than last episodes.
Yeah. So, by my count, we're 25 and 23. So, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. That means we're in the plus column. So, hey, I'll take it, guys.
Yeah, when you average out the numbers, we are in the black.
Yep. So I'm very proud of that because, guys, it takes a lot of work. Not only Hill doing the editing and recording and all that he has to take on doing that, but also just looking at this stuff. And it's kind of tedious, so
granted,
I hope it's appreciated, the love of labor that we put into it. We can see you guys watching every week, and we super appreciate it. Keep liking, keep commenting, keep subscribing, keep sharing with your friends and family and whoever cares and doesn't care. And, we just really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, guys, it means a lot to us. Especially, I love seeing the comments. Like, I get really excited when you guys comment below. I try to always comment back, like it, whatever. Just I like to see the interaction, so we appreciate you interacting with us through the YouTube channel and watching the content, and enjoying the jokes.
Yeah.
A friend of mine back in Virginia commented, I can't remember if it was on YouTube or on Facebook, but he particularly enjoyed the Ferris Bueller bit in the latest episode, which I had a lot of fun doing that one. I enjoyed that myself.
Yeah. Ferris Bueller.
Bueller. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I'm pretty proud of the corn dog lock, but that's just me.
Yes, the corn dog lock.
So anyway, guys, it's been fun. It's been real, but it ain't been real fun. So thanks so much for everything you guys do for us, and keep commanding the market, guys.
Yep. Appreciate the watching. Keep on watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, catch y'all later.